Yeah. Let's see, where did you guys pick up last session? Picked up last session right as you guys were headed to Madame Ava's tent. On the way there, you passed by a whole group of Vistani that were telling a story about how, well, this one man anyway was telling a story about how he watched a battle that raged up on the mountaintop outside of Castle Ravenloft between the devil and a powerful mage. Apparently, the mage had gathered up a large group of people and had marched onto Castle Ravenloft to take out the devil. He killed all the people and ended up in this massive battle with this wizard. He said he saw the wizard crash down the falls, Sarah Falls, and he went down to pick the body clean, but he could never find it. But you know, he embellished the story quite a bit, as Vistani are known to do. From there, you guys headed on to Madame Ava's tent, and she went through and did the card reading. With each card, I put a link to the document and the reading over in our Facebook chat. So if you ever need to go back to those, but she basically would go through each card and mention some interesting points about how it related, not necessarily to you who had the card, but to the group in general. It was more of a reading for the whole group. But she did point out different things that might point to directions for a specific character, but none of it was all rather vague. And as she said, it's just one branch or one thread of many that could be taken. It's nothing that is guaranteed. It all depends on your actions and what you all do. I don't really want to do too much on that because I don't want to give anything away at the moment with what she has there. But as I said, you can always go back over it and read through it and stuff. I think you guys mentioned there was a part where she was talking about somebody who's a thorn in your side, and you mentioned some names and what's the word? The emotion of sorrow and dread that follows some people always behind you and things like that. But that's all for you guys to do as you wish with. So after her, you guys had a few questions and stuff. Vasily, she would have given you, if you asked for that deck, would have given you one to have on hand as well. As I said, she tells you that you need to work with it and shuffle the cards and read through them and just handle them basically to get them in tune with your own soul.
He just needed them as a focus for one of his spells.
And then from there, you guys basically just headed off to sleep. You were planning to head right to bed, but Victor and Mud, you guys stayed up a little bit as one of the Vistani said that there was something interesting that was going to happen. And he stayed up a little bit and noticed this bluish outline in the distance coming towards the camp. Eventually, as it started to come through, he saw it was just hundreds and hundreds, perhaps thousands of ghosts that were all marching down the old Svalich Road, up the Sarah Falls and towards Castle Ravenloft. You didn't really have any idea who or what they were. You had some thoughts and ideas. Mud, you saw that one ghost that you were looking for. I just figured that Vasily and Mornak fell asleep. However, it's up to you guys in the end. But Vasily, if you would have stayed up and maybe watched this from your tent or something like that, you would have seen the ghost of your sister amongst this parade of people. They didn't have any aggression or anything. They seemed completely mindless or unaware that you were there, even if they passed through them or whatever. They were just cold. Then finally headed off to bed a little bit shaken, but not too bad. Got up the next morning, and the old man who was telling the story was gutted and butchered on the ground, his intestines spread over top of a fire. His son blamed all of you since you were the ones who kind of rode into camp and messed everything up, basically. Threatened you a few times, got into a little bit of a fight with Mud and cracked him in the head with apparently a very powerful bottle of wine. You were able to calm that down, though, and they ran you out of the camp. Well, he did. Most of the other Vistani sort of stayed back and watched, didn't get really involved, even Madame Ava. But he told you basically to watch your backs, and you had free passage through the camp to leave now, but once you're gone from the camp, your life is his. So from there, you guys headed north to get out of the Vistani camp and head towards Sarah Falls up to the main path and on your way to Valakai. A couple hours out, and you came to the main Sayre Falls. As this great big fall comes over the cliffside down into a pool, the Sayre Pool. And there was a cliffside passage that went up to the main road up above. And you can see the bridge that crosses over this canyon where the main road is. But there was a bit of a conundrum is the path it sort of zigzags up the cliffside. It's quite narrow and be rather treacherous on foot and definitely treacherous with a wagon. As you're trying to figure out what the best course of action might be, Irina stated that she will not have her father buried here. He needs to be buried in a graveyard, and she refused to leave his body there. So as you were talking about what might be the best option, Mud, you noticed some circling vulture-like birds up ahead. And then as we ended it, Victor, you saw some creatures pulling themselves out of the pool around you. And I will toss the picture in of these two creatures for you guys, and then we can figure out from there what you guys want to do. Let's see.
Now, maybe I'm wrong, but if I remember correctly, the creatures we seen were very friendly, and they were going to help us out.
Yes, that sounds about right.
Yes, and they brought us cake.
Where did I write down?
Honestly, I don't remember the creatures from the pool. I remember the ones above, but I don't remember the ones coming out of the pool.
Yep, just at the very end there was a couple. I don't know where I wrote down the notes, but I will tell you how many in just a moment.
Oh, he looks lovely.
Yes, and that's where I'm at. All right. Let's see, what do we got here? There were 4 of the vulture things. And 6, they look like they're zombies of some sorts. They're definitely undead, partially rotted corpses that are pulling themselves out of this water. The water itself looks to be quite clear as you guys were looking at it, but you can see tunnels and like underwater tunnels that lead elsewhere underneath the pool of water itself. So they're coming from there. They are about 30 feet away to your right next to the pool. They're quite slow, but they're coming out. You will also, Vasily, you'll notice that there is several internal organs, maybe a liver, a kidney or something, and a fairly large splatter of blood across the side of this pool, almost like they were baited. And then up ahead, up above, you see these vulture things. They're a couple hundred yards up in the air circling, but you can see that they're slowly descending down towards all of you.
Now, and correct me if I'm wrong, this is the falls that the story about the wizard was.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. It's about a 200-foot fall of water that comes down, and it's crashing pretty loudly, so you guys are yelling quite a bit loud to hear each other over top of the crashing water. Ismark is currently in the lead or the driver's seat of these horses that are hooked up to it, and he mentioned that this looks really risky to be taking the horses up this side. As I said, Irina refuses to leave the body of her father here. Looks like these, as I said, these things are fairly slow, so you have a few moments. What do you guys do?
So how far ahead are these water babies coming out?
They're about 30 yards away off to your right. They're the same ground level as you are, because you're right at the pool side almost. Up above where this cliff side is, the cliff itself is about 100 yards or so up to the top, and the path zigzags back and forth to get you to the top where that reached the main road that you would have been following had you went around the camp. And the vulture things are pretty high up in the air. They're descending, but they're just circled like vultures would, slowly coming down. They're definitely not vultures. They're about the size of a child, not real big, but you can see that they are humanoid-ish.
Should we stay here and fight these creatures and then try to figure out a way up later, or just run back to not to the Vistani camp? Maybe we can get by them, but go around the long way, because there was 2 ways that we could get to it.
Yeah, if you head back, you would be moving right through their camp because it's sort of set in between the valley. It would be the road leads right back to them.
So can we just giddy up past them and start heading up the trail? And then if these things are flying down towards us, we can deal with them at that time?
We can't necessarily make the wagon go up it. Like it's super treacherous.
Oh, it's too steep.
Yeah. The
The
horse
path is rather. It's not really.
but
Yeah. In some places, it'd be a narrow ride for the wagon, definitely. Ismarkel, stare at that, and we can easily outrun these zombie-like creatures. They're quite slow, but taking these horses and the wagon up this cliffside is. I don't know if it's within my skills as a driver, but I will do my best if we must. We have little choice. But
How many of these things are coming out of the water?
There's currently 6, but you can see more crawling out underneath in the tunnels and stuff.
So there's could anywhere between 10 or more of these things.
It seems like perhaps somebody baited them there. You see
plus
the blood.
plus the vultures that we would have to deal with, or whatever those creatures are. Like, do we really want to try to fight all these creatures at once?
Well, there's no other path.
No, because it's sort of, you ended up at the valley, and it's basically the cliffside. The main road that you're following to Valakai is up on the top of the cliffside, because you guys sort of went off path to go through the Vistani camp. The main road and the bridge and everything is up above you, up on the other side of the cliff. So basically, you'd have to get to the top of the cliff to get to the main road and then out of here. You could go backtrack, but it takes you back to the Vistani camp, which they probably wouldn't be very welcoming.
Do you think it's possible that we can just run straight through the Vistani camp? Like, don't even give them a chance? Because weren't they drinking pretty heavily last night, Bud?
I mean, they were, but they were all bright and shiny this morning, too.
Well, murder tends to kind of wake up people.
Ismar points up. The sun is already a quarter across the sky. Well, what counts for a sun anyway. Says we could make it through the camp and back down and around, but we'd caught in the middle of the night here. We'd have to camp in the woods. It's
Ismar.
just in the camp.
Ismar, can you make it partially up this road? Even if we have to take a break, I'd rather not deal with enemies from both sides.
I'm going to do my best. Unless perhaps one of you are a bit more skilled as a driver. But besides the occasional horse rider pulling a cart of ale through town, this is out of my skills.
Perhaps we should get out of the cart and run beside it just in case.
It seems like a good plan. Warnock will go ahead and start climbing out of the wagon.
Yeah, I think Victor will too.
Irene will reach down and grab a few ropes and stuff in the back of them. I had at least strap my father's corpse down, and I believe in Ismark. He can do this. You can do this, Ismark.
I'll help strap it to it. Well, she can. I can stay in the cart. There's no need to take that out of the cart. We're just running alongside of it just for precaution.
Yep.
Ismark, do your best. We need to move.
So I'm hopping out, crossbow in hand, and I'm just going to start running up ahead of the cart.
Who's going ahead of it and who's going behind it? If
Warnock will go behind it.
So will Mud.
Victor will take the lead. Start by us, and from the route that we're suggesting taking, I'm going to just call them zombies coming up from the water. We're not going to necessarily pass by them, right?
no, they're sort of off to the side a little bit.
Okay. In that case, Victor will actually take out a sling and kind of load a rock in it and kind of just be ready for the vultures when we start going up.
Alina quickly tie off this rope that holds the casket of her father in the back of this thing. And Ismark will walk horses ahead a little bit. Behind you, you can see more of these zombie creatures pulling themselves out of the water. Some of them just begin feeding on the entrails that have been scattered around. A few of them moan in your direction and slowly move, but they tend to gather quite quickly, but they're not in any sort of quick movement or anything. You can easily outpace these things. Coming back down or whatever, they would certainly be a threat as there's more and more pouring forth. And in that case, you guys hit this main path. The road itself that leads up the side of this cliffside varies between 8 and 12 feet across on some areas, just barely big enough in some areas for the cart to roll across. You'll be able to how fast are you taking the lead then, Victor? Are you just walking slowly, or are you running, or are you?
I was thinking we should go at a jog.
It would depend on how fast Ismark is like taking the wagon. Like if he's going like full blown, like speed up the mountain, then yeah, I would have to run. But I would like to be like at least 20, maybe 30 feet ahead of the wagon, if possible. Now, of course, if the wagon's going at full speed, there's no way that I can outrun that. So,
what is your speed?
I think it's the standard 10. Yeah, 10.
Okay. In that case, you'll be able to, start moving up this trail behind you. Ismark will snap the reins of this thing, begin to pull it around the path as well. It's a fairly gradual incline as he starts to move. Mornak and Mud, both of you behind the carts. You'll still get a few stray of these aquatic zombie things that shuffle forth and stuff, but they kind of slow down a little bit and then just begin feeding on the entrails and the bits of blood that's been baited around the edge of this pool, quickly losing interest as you tend to pull away. As you glance above Victor, you'll see a 4th, 5th, and a 6th of these vulture-like things. And we will begin initiative. Who would like to go fast? Right now, these things are about 120 yards above you.
Actually, real quick before we go to initiative, or this might be part of initiative, as these things are going for the entrails and all that, I'd like to see if I see any tracks specifically matching somebody the size and build of Jack.
Give me a perception, and then do you have a?
I'm a hunter.
Okay, give yourself a boon too.
Wait. I can use something to re-roll that.
You can add a boon to it too with your ability.
Well, no, I even failed on that, but I had the
fortune point
to re-roll it. 10.
All right, you will. Looks to be, just your standard humanoid boot print, and it leads along the edge. You can see some fingerprints and stuff that look like they've been moved rocks around or something, like maybe somebody was searching for something. They're all kind of scattered, like somebody was pacing back and forth along the poolside or something. And then some of the little still wet marks that move up the side of this trail. It looks quite fresh, probably within the last 20, 30 minutes.
So I definitely know somebody set this up.
Yes, and then
But
they
I'm
headed.
not sure it's the right person.
Yep, and then they headed up the cliffside where you're moving now. Yep.
I do. I've called dibs on the necklace.
What's the range of like a sling? Isn't it like short
30.
range?
Yeah, short. Which I believe was 30 yards.
I'm just going to keep going up the hill, and then when one of them is within range, I'm just going to shoot my crossbow at it.
So I will go slow with the initiative.
I guess we would need to go slow and then like do a hold action, maybe. Like I don't know if there's a hold action.
Well, the way I have it set up, that you don't have to worry about it. Just let me know if you go fast or slow, and then I can pace the thing as needed.
Okay.
If you're in the lead, well, Ismark is basically just set in the center, so he's going slow regardless. So as long as you guys in the front of Victor and Vasily, you guys can go fast or slow. The people behind him, Mornek and Mud, you guys would have to go slow unless Ismark goes fast. Then it wouldn't matter.
Okay.
Are they going to close within range quickly, or?
No, they're circling down fairly slow. It looks like they're just riding
okay.
the air current, so you could probably get at least a fair distance up the side before they reach.
Well, I'm just going to go slow then. I'm going to keep moving forward with the Daily Bob. And then once they drift down within range, I'm going to shoot at them.
Yeah, right. In that case, Ismark is just going to take the standard rolls to keep this thing moving. And yeah, he seems like he has it fairly decent. As you guys start up the first quarter of this cliffside, he moves along. There's a few precarious spots, and you can see the wagon sort of skips over the side on one of the areas. Quickly, the horses pull it back online. If you look above Victor Vasily, as you come to the crook or the fork where it starts to turn back and circle back up the next side of the cliffside ledge, these things finally reach down, so they're about 30 feet above you. But if you look up, you can see another 6 that are still up fairly high in the sky for a total of 12 at the moment. So there'd be 6 within close range, or near, close range. And then the other ones are still way high in the sky, but they're circling down as well.
So I missed your description of what these look like. What are these?
A picture over in the Facebook chat.
Oh,
Sort of
okay,
like skeletal vulture-like bird things.
Oh, okay, those things. With the skull necklace.
Yep, but they're about the size of a child, and sort of like a larger vulture-sized bird in between there.
Well, are they making any threatening moves, or what are they? Are they coming at us?
No, they're just circling down. You can see they look rather intent on you, but they're not within range yet. But they're definitely coming towards you.
Okay. As soon as one comes within range, I'm just going to shoot it.
All right. In that case, we will just go down the initiative thing then. So, Victor and Vasily, you guys would be up first since you're the first in line of these. So, if you guys want to make an attack on these things, there's 6 of them within range.
Okay. I will make an agility attack. That's a 13.
That is a hit.
That is 8 points of damage.
Oh, nice. So as you line up this crossbow bolt, you can see one lets out a bit of a screech and then just goes into a complete dive towards the back end of this wagon. It looks like it's intent on the horses, actually, as it flies down, sort of spearheading its way. You're going to take this thing right through the skull with your bolt, though, and it'll just hit the back side of the cliff in sort of a splatter. Bits and bone shrapnel spracking off of this thing as it slides down and goes over the edge of the cliff. Victor.
Sadly, I rolled a 9.
9.
So
You chuck a stone at this thing. It quickly moves out of the way, and just all 5 that are left just sort of go into a spear dive towards the front of this wagon.
You know what? Actually, real quick, as that stone starts to fly high, Mud will reach out and add a little ice to it to try to put it on, so you get to roll a boon onto that.
well, hopefully it will beat the 3 that I rolled before. Ooh, that was a 6. So that would be 12.
Not quite. 13 defense on these guys. You can kind of cracks off the side of it, but doesn't seem like it really phases it. Maybe it was at the edge of its range there, and just not quite enough power to really phase this thing at all. As the 5 of them go into a dive, you see Ismark look over his shoulder. This panic looked a little bit on his face. You can see the sweat beading up on his forehead. And he holds it steady for the moment, though, continuing these horses forward. He picks them up a little bit of a trot to get them moving a little bit quicker. You can see the cart rolls right along the edge of this cliffside, but he gets it online, and he's holding steady for now. Mornak and Mud, you guys would be up. There's 5 of these things within about 30 feet that are diving towards the horses, though.
Okay. How close are these vulture things to each other?
They're grouped pretty tight together, so all within like a 10-foot diameter.
Okay. Warnak would like to go ahead and cast explosive darts. Well, I guess before I do that, do I have an unobstructed path between me and them?
Oh yeah, for sure. Yep.
Okay. Then I'm going to cast explosive darts. So that sends out 3 darts. Each one does 1 damage. And they explode in a 1-yard radius from that target space. And they take 1d6 plus 1 damage or half on a successful agility roll.
And how many darts is it total?
3.
3. So you'll definitely get three of them. So go ahead and roll the. I'll take 1 off of 3 of these, and then roll the damage for all 3.
Okay, that's going to be 5 damage.
Nice. Okay. These darts will zoom out. You can get a group of 3 of them that seem to be in a little triangular sort of formation, pretty tight together that you nab. All of them will explode to bits and pieces of feathers, flesh, and bone. They seem to still be alive, but they've completely lost control as they're diving down towards this horse. Look mutilated at the moment. They have no control over their dive anymore.
Okay. By the way, the other thing that I wanted to do when I cast that is I want to expend 2 of my psychic points to not have to expend a casting.
Perfect. Got it.
All right, so seeing him crack all of them in one shot and them coming down together in an explosive dive, Mud will reach out and shoot a bolt of lightning that spreads across all of them. That's forked lightning.
All
So
right.
they have to make a agility against 15.
They do not.
And then any who fail takes 6.
You'll take out those last 3 for sure. So it looks like you're going to have these 5 between these exploding darts. Just throw away 3 of them. They'll come smashing down into this cliffside, just in a splatter of gore, all 3 of them at once, as the fork lightning goes across the remaining of them. Both of them are still alive, but they seem to be on a spear dive as well, completely losing control of their flight as they dive downwards. Irina will be watching from the back of this wagon, sort of watching this, and you can see this worried look. The 2 that are diving down still going directly towards the horses on the front. And they're still out of range, though, so they're just taking their move action. So that would put Victor and Vasily. You guys would be coming around the corner as you're coming up. Up above, there's 6 more of these things that are coming down. They're about 60 feet away at the moment, that are coming down as well. But both of you give me a perception roll, please.
I got a 10.
Okay. What did you get, Vasily?
I'm sorry, 8.
All right, so Victor, as you look up at these other 6 that are descending, you can see small, they almost look like bundles of twigs and branches here and there along the cliffside. And you can hear a soft sort of screeching sound. Then you see a second and a third, fourth. It seems this whole cliffside is lined with nests of these things. Do you have any sort of wilderness background or anything of that sort?
Yeah. I'm the ranger, and I did.
Oh,
I forgot what background to pick.
What Ranger would work though is you can definitely tell that these things look like they have nests here. Probably whatever these ones that are attacking are mainly trying to defend their nests, but you see at least 12 nests altogether, so it's likely to be a good 10 to 12 more of these things somewhere around.
Can I tell if there's any in the nest?
Not from where you're at, no.
Okay. I'm going to shout that out to the group and say there's a nest, and I'm going to point, and where their nests are located out to the group.
When you point them out, you will all see them. Sort of some of them around the cliffside, tucked in against the nooks and crannies of the stone, part of the pathways in different areas. None of them right directly on the main road itself. Quite large, about the size of like a twin-sized bed. They're quite a big around, and you can definitely hear squawks and screeches coming from them as well, the nest itself. So yeah, Victor and Vasily, you two are up.
Are the others within range?
There's two that are still alive that will be headed towards the horses on their turn, and then
there's still 2 more.
60 feet above you, so they may be depending on. Well, you have a crossbow, so yeah, they're in your range.
Well, I have to reload that. So, can I reload and still keep moving a little bit, or do I have to come to complete stop?
That would be your move action. Yeah, you could move and reload, or you could stop, which would stop everybody if you're not moving.
Let me find magic dart. I'm going to cast magic dart at one of them. Magic dart. They take, so it automatically hits, and one of them takes 3 points of damage.
Gotcha. One of the ones that are closer, or one of the new ones?
One that's closer.
Okay, you'll take that one out then. So as this thing's diving towards the horse, it'll just explode in this flash of feathers and bone. Once again, this final squawk, sort of a puff of smoke in the distance. And the other one would then be up. Is this going to come down on the back of one of these horses? Let us reach. Was that Victor?
You skipped.
Oh, I'm sorry. I did. You go for it. Go.
I would like to actually move. Well, no, I'm right there with the horses, right? Or am I a little ahead?
You're a little bit ahead of them, but
okay. Is it possible for me to move to the horses and kind of wait for that last one to kind of get there and then swing the sword, or would I need to go take a slow action for
that? You're kind of going slow anyway, because I'm figuring everybody's staying at a steady pace. But if you go back, you're going to stop the whole procession.
Okay, I will just try to take it out then with a rock. Ooh, that would be a 10, sadly.
That's
not going to quite make it. Even if I had another blessing from a friend, that wouldn't work.
In that case, yes, this thing will come onto the back of one of these horses, and you can see these long needle-like teeth. Its claws grip the side of this, and the horse is going to start whinnying. And you can see that it starts to begin freaking out as Ismark's holding on to these reins to keep this thing. And this time, he is not able to control it. This horse will sort of rear up in the middle of this path, bringing everything to a bit of a halt as it rears back. And this creature's on the back of it, and it just digs these needle-like teeth into the back of its head and into its mane. It'll let out a bit of a scream, and when it does, it sort of rears up a little bit, and then it goes back on both of its hind legs as it goes up into the air with this loud, horsing sort of scream, and comes smashing back down into the road. The other horse begins to freak as well, and then they both start to trample and take off. Victor and Vasily, I need agility checks from both of you with 2 banes.
I'm not even going to try to roll the banes because I rolled a 1 on the d20. So unless you really just need that number, like it's just going to be a first.
It's going to be a failure regardless.
So in that case, if Victor's already loses his footing, as Vasily goes to step to get out of his way, I will ice up. I'll reach out and ice up wherever he's stepping to help him secure his footing and give him a boon on the roll.
In that case, Vasily, you're just going to have one bane to your roll.
Don't forget you're muted.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I keep muting it. Yeah, I had a 7 on the die, so it doesn't matter.
All right. So both of you, as you start taking out these things in the air, you can hear the horse, and as you glance back just in time, neither of you are able to get out of the way as these things start trampling and taking off. You can hear Ismark screaming, trying to stop these things, but Victor 6 damage, Vasily 7. As these horses just take off, you won't be knocked off the path, at least not yet, but you're going to be trampled by these horses as they just take off up the pathway. You can see Ismark trying to slow them down the best he can, this wagon jostling back and forth as it goes around the corner. I will give him a check to see if he can keep it. He does not. So as the horses come around the corner, you can, I guess from Victor and Vasily, where you guys are at, you can see one of the main reins that are connecting this horse that has this thing on its back connected to the wagon snap, and the horse itself begins to take off. The whole wagon is going to sort of shove forward, and then the wheel busts on the front as it smashes into the side of this cliffside. Irina in the back, she should probably have an agility check. Well, when you want me to roll wonderful, I do not. She got a 4. Behind Mud and Mornak, you guys will look over just in time to see Irina holding onto the side of this coffin as this wagon hits the cliffside as it's going around the corner and smashes into the side of it. And looks like maybe the wagon's front axle wheel, something breaks as the whole thing sort of skids down to a point into the dirt. She's going to come flying off the back. You can see her rolling down the path and then getting ready to fall over the cliffside.
So the cart's actually in front of us, right?
Yep.
I guess I try to reach and grab her before she tumbled off.
Give me an agility check.
Yeah, that makes sense. 4.
Yes, as you reach out, you can feel her hand brush yours as she comes over the side of this, rolls across the ground, and starts to go over the cliffside edge. You completely miss. You just barely brushes fingertips with you as she's trying to scrabble, hold on to the cliffside. Mornak, you would be up if you wanted to try and do anything.
Am I close enough to her that I can hand out my quarterstaff that she might be able to grab a hold of it?
Yeah, I'd even give you a boon for that.
Okay.
Same thing, agility check with a boon.
Okay. And this gets the modifier for my agility, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. That's going to be 14.
All right. So yeah, she will grab a hold at the edge of your quarterstaff. So you're going to be sort of leaning over this roadway a little bit, holding your staff at one end as she's dangling over the side. You guys are up 55 feet above the ground at the moment. So she's basically dangling 55 feet off the ground below.
I shout out, I could use some help here.
Just a little bit. Ismark up ahead will begin screaming, trying to get this. The one horse with this thing on its back will break free of its ties and tethers, though, and start just racing down the path as the wagon grinds to a halt in the dirt with the one horse still left. Up above, you see the other 6 of these things descending down and just swooping as they start to dive bomb in between everybody. Now we can have a proper initiative. So who would like to go fast?
I will go fast.
I will go slow.
I will go slow.
I think I would need to go slow as well.
All right, in that case, Mud, you are up first. You can see all, yes, there's 6 of these bony bird-like things that are all within range that are just dive bombing, scraping with their claws, talons, beaks, whatever they can have.
So I think after missing Arena and trying to help out there, Mud will just roll over, reach his hand out, and shoot that fork lightning out again.
Okay.
So that's 21. They have to beat that for agility.
They do not.
All right. So anything over 20 is an additional D6. So that is 10 damage
And
to any of them within 5 feet of each other. Or, 5 yards of each other.
Give me a 1d6 roll plus 1. See how many you can hit.
3 plus 1.
So 4, gotcha. And that'll definitely take them all out. What's that look like as you take out 4 of these things with one?
I think, trying to save Arena and missing, Mud will just roll over and a little bit of electricity will spark from his one eye as he reaches his hand out. And it doesn't, nothing even comes out of his hand. All of a sudden, lightning just bursts forth from the clouds over the cliff face and just starts hitting things as they come near him.
Nice. Yes, you will destroy 4 of these things in one swoop. There's still 2 left, and they would be up. Let's see, I'll just roll randomly to see. Got 1, 2, 3. 1 would be on Mud. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 on Mornak. So, Mud, on you, I got a 12, 17.
Yes, that hits.
And Mornak, I got a 7. And no hit. So 3 points of damage on you, Mud, as one swoops down, these talons scraping across your chest as you're rolled over. And that puts Mornak. You would be up.
Okay.
You're holding on the edge of the stick, sort of probably leaning over, I imagine, as Irina's below. She's not overly heavy, but I will need a check with 2 boons to at least hold her.
Okay.
Fairly small person, but
Okay, that's going to be a 10, so I don't know if that's going to do it.
that will do it right on the money. So what do you do as you're holding on to this?
Well, if I'm able to, I'd like to still go ahead and cast. And the one that I'd like to cast is the Arcane Armor, which is going to give me a +2 to my duration,
Okay.
or to my defense.
Yeah, it works. And you technically would still have a move action if you want to give a shot to try and pull her up.
Oh yeah, I'll go ahead and do that.
All right. Yeah, just another strength check. You don't get the 2 boons in this case, but just a regular strength check.
That is a 9.
You'll pull up between concentrating on this spell, trying to pull her up. Not quite. You'll, maybe get back to your feet and start pulling her up a little bit, but not all the way yet. Vasily, you would be up. There is 2 of these things still left, screeching.
Are either of them damaged?
Nope.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to reload and fire the crossbow. And that's a 17 on the die with a 19 total.
Yep, that's a hit.
That's 6 points of damage.
So yeah, this one swoops down towards Mud. It hits him before you're able to hit it with the bolt, but it seems to line up nicely with your shot as you slam a bolt into the side of this thing as it's on its way back up into the air. You can see it circle a little bit and then start coming back towards you this time. Victor, you are up.
Okay. I'm actually going to try to run over and help Morning. Like, just kind of grab him around the waist and just start pulling him back, since I don't really have much of the way of the range.
Okay. That would help Irina too, so give me a strength check.
Okay. Oh, well, I just got a flat 10, so.
Nice.
Well, actually, as you grip in, you'll see ice forming around your hands to help your grip. Take a boon on that as well.
All right, so that would be a 15.
All right, perfect. So yeah, you'll feel him grab a hold of you, Mornak, and start pulling you back as well. In between both of you, you're able to get Irina up to the edge side. She'll put her hands up and begin to pull herself up as well. And as she comes up over the side, you'll look down, Victor, Mornak, as you do, and you see one of these things kind of come out from a sort of rocky outcropping below you to the side as it zooms across. It's going to try to grab a hold of her. So as you pull her up, Victor and Mornak, get her over the edge, just as she comes up and over, this thing rakes across her back, and you can see that it grabs a hold of its tail and sticking into both of her shoulders, and this teethy maw just sink down into her collarbone, and she'll let out a scream trying to get this thing off of her, sort of stumbling about, but blood is just going to pour forth from her because that was a bad hit. And end of the round, who would like to go fast? There's 3 of these things left. One is very badly injured.
Pass.
Pass.
How close are they?
Right, fairly close range. You could use melee or ranged in this case.
Okay, then I'll go fast then.
I'll go fast as well.
All right, so that puts Mornak would be up first.
Okay. I'm going to go ahead and just do a magic dart on it. So it automatically hits, and it takes 1d3 plus 1 damage.
Do you want to hit the injured one or one of the non-injured?
The injured one.
All right, it has 2 hit points, so it's automatically going to take it out.
Oh, perfect.
Sweet, so this is the one that hits you, Mud. So as it's starting to come off of you after it rakes across your chest, you see a bolt slam into one side of it from Vasily, and then this magical bolt from Mornak take it from the other direction. It's bits of flesh and blood sort of pour down on you as this thing explodes above you. That'll drop it down to Vasily. You are up.
Okay. As one of the other ones comes swooping down, I reach my hand out, and a swirling shadow magic forms around it, and I fire off a shadow dart at one of them. I make an intellect attack roll against its ability. That is a 14.
Yep, that's a hit.
And it does 2d6 damage. It does 9 points of damage, and it has perception challenge rolls with 3 banes.
All right. Well, it isn't going to see anything because it is dead.
Okay.
This black swirling dart will swirl around. It's almost like it just constricts the life out of this thing. These entangling shadows wrapping around it. It'll hit the ground screeching before just being crushed. And that puts Mud up. The only one left at the moment is the one on Irina that has sunken its talons and its teeth into her collarbone.
And is that fairly close to me?
Yep, it's right in front of you.
So I'll roll the corpse of the other one off and swing around with the flail and try to crack that. Oh, okay. Dirty 20.
All right, that will be a hit. Damage.
That is 6 total.
You'll be able to crack this thing pretty hard across the midsection, and it rips it off, taking a fair bit of flesh with it from Irina. She lets out a scream and falls to the ground. You can see the blood just pouring forth. She's alive, but badly injured from this. And this thing will kind of spin over the cliffside for the moment before it gets its wings back out and starts to circle back up. Victor, you are up.
Okay. Victor is going to scream at the top of his lungs, "You are my prey," and he draws his bastard sword, and almost like with one-handed, he just brings this thing down on top of this creature, hopefully to kill it. A 23.
Yep.
And is that 5 points over its AC?
Yep.
Okay, so that will be an extra 2d6. So.
Well, it's got 3 hit points, so I'm sure you're going to kill it.
Yeah, but I want to see these numbers. I'm going to be mad if it's like 3 on the damn die. Okay, so that would be 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 points of damage.
just sever it in half as it comes up over the cliffside.
I know
Overkill.
you kind of want to add the prayer to this.
Wanna? I mean,
I would have helped with the hit.
go for it.
Yes, you will completely sever this thing. I do need. I'm going to say perception rolls from everybody, though.
23.
That's a natural one. I'd like to think that Victor just slicing this thing across sprayed blood all over Mud's face so he can't see anything.
You're just staring in awe at this.
I got 7.
Yeah, with the 9 on the die, or not on the die, but with the 9 total, I think Victor would be like almost too enraged at like this thing hitting Irina, so like he's not too focused on whatever's coming.
And Vasily, what did you get?
23.
Oh, so you'll notice it in time. You can hear this crash sort of sound and this heavy thump. And as you glance up, Vasily, you'll see the horse that took off fall over the cliffside edge above all of you. It skips down a few rocks, but Mud, Mornak, and Victor, you guys are not as lucky. You can take agility checks for half damage, but this horse is going to smash down on you guys.
Can I actually push Mornak out of the way? Like, I would rather, like, me not even get a chance to roll, just, like, either shield him or, like, grab him and just chuck him out of the way and me take the damage.
If you want to take full damage, yes.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Thank you, Victor.
I guess in the case of full disclosure, I was knocked onto my back. I rolled over to swing my flail. So, roll it with a bane or?
Yeah, if you're on your back, yeah. Give yourself a bane.
That's a 2.
2, so you will take full as well. 13 points of damage you guys take.
I would like to immediately use the warrior tissue back to do the healing rate.
See this horse come over the edge. It'll hit the two of you, but its gut will split open as it continues just to smash down this cliffside edge. This creature that was attached to it, screeching, is still flying down, but it goes right past you guys. It's basically just going for the body on this thing, probably for dinner for all of its younglings later. Let me see how Ismark is.
I'm going to use spell recovery and recover shadow dart.
Okay. Yes. You don't see any more of these things at the moment. The nests seem to be squawking and screeching still, Victor, but you don't see anything coming out of them. Up ahead, you can see Ismark has got this one horse calmed down, but the front of the wagon axle is definitely busted. And he's sort of looking at it, getting ready to try and figure out what to do. There are spare parts in the back of the wagon, but it would take some time to fix. Irina will roll over and sort of start pulling herself over to the carts, and she just lays down, kind of hanging over the top of the coffin of her father in the back of this cart. And we must hurry up and get out of here. I don't. And then she'll just pass out.
Is there any signs of Ismark?
He is at the front of the wagon at the moment, looking at the wheel or whatever's broken.
Okay, but he doesn't look like injured or...
Oh, nope, he's banged up a little bit from the crash, but not injured by any means, no.
Mud, can you help Irina at all?
Once I hit on mute, I absolutely can. I will reach down and grab Irina, and as I do, I will cast Fate Healing using one of my first level slots. Oh, okay. So, just to throw this out there, because I don't know what happened here, it would heal her for 3, so long as she does not have any corruption. I don't know what happens. I just know that if there's no corruption, she heals for 3.
All right. This cold sort of frost goes across her body. She'll remain unconscious for the time being. You can see the blood is still just sort of gushing out of this wound that's on her neck and her collarbone and these talons. It's hard to say if it really did anything or not.
Mud, do you actually think that me and you can probably carry Irina's father up this hill? Because we need to get out of here as soon as possible. Maybe the horses can serve as food for these creatures while we try to escape.
Well, we still have one horse and no immediate danger, correct?
Correct, yep.
Strap the horse up, and those of us who can, let's push the car from behind to get it to the top of this hill.
How long is it going to take to get this wheel fixed?
Is Marco look over? He hasn't noticed Irina yet. He's sort of up front. And the tuners are in the back of the wagon. There's an extra excellent wheel. 20 minutes, perhaps 20 minutes. With one horse, we'll definitely need help pulling the wagon.
And how far are those things below us?
You guys are about halfway up the path, so 50 foot below, 50 foot above. You're in the middle.
If we were able to get it going, how much longer would it take to get up to the top?
Probably maybe 10 minutes, if that, assuming that you go slow, so that, I mean, you guys are pushing it and stuff, so it's not like you can really hurry.
Well, I'll run to the back and grab the tools just to help everything.
As Marco quickly start to tear apart this wheel and bust it off and try to get to it. He's got the horse calmed down for the moment. The other one's down below, but you'll see these water zombie creatures and this other bird-like creature down below just tearing this horse apart. They seem to be occupied for the moment. Vasily, are you going to aid him in changing the wheel?
Yeah, I'll help.
All right, I actually rolled really good on that one. So yeah, he'll begin tearing this all apart, sort of pointing out ports for you to hold on to and hammer things in and this and that. You'll get done actually quite a bit quicker, as I rolled a 26 total. So he will get this done now, say in about 3-4 minutes between swapping it out. Things, the axle not being quite as bad, so it's just a matter of pulling that broken wheel off and hammering the new one into place. This is, should be done here in just a moment, and then we can get these horses moving.
And I'll take that time to load Irina back onto her unconscious body back onto the cart.
Is she bleeding out?
It's bleeding pretty heavily, yeah.
I don't have any medical training, but maybe we should put some bandages on her or something.
Well, I have a healer's kit in my gear in the back. Someone can use it.
Yeah, somebody could try to stabilize her at least.
I mean, I can try. I normally leave the bodies in my wake, but I know enough.
Give me a will check with a boon.
I'm going to kind of frost over the wounds as I'm working on them to give myself another boon. For a total of 11.
That'll be enough to at least stabilize her.
That is with a 6 on the second boon.
Yes, as you wrap this up and frost some of it, again, she does not look good, but you're able to staunch the flow of blood a little bit. You know you're going to have to get her, to Valakai soon, or get somebody a little more skilled than you are to save her, basically. As you're working on her, though, Mud, you'll notice she has this bright red scarf she normally uses. You'll have to move it out of the way in order to get to the wound on her collarbone and shoulder stuff. She'll have 2 puncture marks. Looks like vampire bite sort of thing on her neck.
while they are actually doing that, Victor's going to get himself in front of the wagon where that horse broke the straps, and he's going to see if he can try to help this other horse hold the wagon up. Basically, he's going to use his own strength to help pull the wagon. It may not help much, but just to take a little bit of the strain off of that single horse.
Okay. Yeah, Ismark will get this broken tire off as Mud's in the back working on Irina, and Vasily, you're up there helping her. Or I'm sorry, helping Ismark. Everything will get swapped over fairly quickly. As you guys look down, you'll see more and more of these bird-like creatures darting past this cliffside and headed down to the bottom where this dead horse is. It looks quite a feeding frenzy down below. Every now and then you'll see them zip back up to the nests with chunks of flesh and fur and bone from this horse that they're tearing apart. Looks like you probably have a few minutes left before they really finish off their meal or get out of it. But their attention is diverted for now.
And if nobody else noticed while I was working on Irina, I would close her scarf back up tight.
Okay.
Cover the wounds.
Right. Ismark will slap this couple more bolts into place on this wheel and pull himself back up to the driver's seat. And we must hurry. Let's get out of here as quick as we can before those things turn their attention back. So I have Victor in the front. You're going to help pull the wagon, sort of?
And Bud will get in the back and help push it.
All right. Mornek and Vasily, are you guys going to help push as well?
I'm hanging back, and I'm watching those creatures from behind, making sure they're not coming up from behind.
Okay.
Mornek is pretty weak, but he's going to go ahead and try pushing this wagon.
All right. I believe, Victor, you'd be the highest strength. So 1, 2, why don't you do a strength check with 3 boons? Sorry, 4, because you have a horse too.
How about a 24?
Nice. So you guys are able to get this wagon moving a little bit, maybe push some of the extra stuff you haven't been using in the back side of this out to loosen the load a little bit. The horse proves quite capable. It's going to be a slow ride since you don't have both of them, but you're able to get up to the mountainside probably within 15, 20 minutes and pull over the edge of this cliffside up to the top, the main road that's there. As you come around the corner through a small grouping of trees, you'll see the main road, the Svalich Road, up just ahead. This thick grayish fog hangs really heavy, low to the ground. And directly beside you, as it stretches over this 300-foot bridge that stretches the chasm that you guys just came up out of. It looks like the one you passed a while ago when you came out of Barovia. Very nice stone-like architecture, and it has these gargoyles lined up along either side of it. It's 20 feet wide and then 300, almost probably over 300 feet across as it sort of goes up and over this chasm. And you'll see a familiar face sitting at the edge, cleaning the dirt under his nails. Ha! My friends, you've arrived. I hope your trip was well.
Quite well, thank you. Where's the wine?
Wine? I drank it. You don't leave a good wine around to spoil. He'll sort of flip his blade closed and put it back in his pocket. Bit of excitement at the camp this morning. I heard it from the distance. Don't look like they were too happy with you.
I suppose that's one way to put it.
Mud will just glance over to Victor and then poignantly look at Jack's more jagged knife.
Yeah. Got this one here from a fella I killed a few years ago. Quite a nice blade. Tell you what, I'm in a good mood today, guys. It's been a wonderful morning. A bit of fun has been had. I watched your bachelors, quite entertaining. Had some good drink and some good food. Don't know if you've ever had a Vistani liver before. Quite tasty, quite tasty. But I tell you what. The toll today, it's gonna be quite cheap. Just give me the wench and you can be on your way. Since none of you look to be, ready for a fight. You look a little rough around the edges. But I like your perseverance.
Riding is
I feel like we've had this conversation before, and
Victor's
the
gonna,
answer isn't going to change. You cannot have her.
Victor's gonna look to the ceiling and say, "You wanted the necklace, right?"
I'll take the necklace.
Does Vasily answer?
Oh yeah. Oh, he's talking to me.
Yeah, you're Vasily, right?
Yeah. Yes, it's quite lovely.
I think Victor's gonna kind of let go of the straps of the wagon and just reach and grab his master's sword and unsheath it and just start walking forward.
No, my friend. You don't want to do that. We can make this very, very easy. Now, from what I understand, you're escorting this young lady to Valakheim. No, I don't have any interest in that. It's a shithole like the rest of them. But I could use a ride.
How about you give us your swords and your amulet, and we won't leave you bleeding in the gutter.
I haven't had a good laugh like that in a while. No. Well, I think I could take my chances with the lot of you. He'll put his hand down on the hilt of his blade. Sort of step forward a little bit. I just jest. I've had a little too much fun this morning. I've had a bit of wine. I'm actually quite sleepy, but you don't want to give up the wench. You don't want to give up the locket. Says, what's a man to do? What's a man to do? I mean, you need to get across this bridge before night comes. I need to make a living. What do you have that's... what do you... Go ahead, persuade me. Persuade me.
Victor is still walking towards him. Like, once I get close, like, if we don't negotiate anything that's satisfied to us, like, Victor's going to, like, get up to him and then swing. So, I will say that. So, whatever time you think that's reasonable.
Gotcha.
Bud's going to be kind of trying to flank around as well at this
How
point.
about we call in a third-party negotiator? And I reach up and my hands up into up towards the sky, and shadow just starts forming around them. And I just like moving them back up and down, and this pool of shadow just forms on the ground. It's like I'm pulling something up out of the shadow. This large, hunched over creature made completely out of darkness crawls up out of this hole in the ground, and it just starts galloping straight at him.
All right.
I cast Shadow Monster.
Alrighty. He'll see you marching forward, Victor, and this creature coming at him. Instead of pulling his blades, he'll be like, just put his hands up and be like, no, we don't have... It sort of just rubs the side of his face and snaps his hand. You can see all these black claws come up out of the ground. Most of them are rotted, some of them just bone. Some of it's monstrous, animal bones, humanoids. whatever, and they begin grasping it. Both this thing and Victor. I don't. Does that give you stat for the creature?
That's a medium monster, so it has a defense of 13.
Right. Actually, we just need an agility check.
Oh, it's agility.
Yep. And in this case, it's going to be 2 Banes. Thing with you, Victor.
Well, here's the question though.
As these hands and all that reach towards Victor, I'll chill the air around them to slow them down a bit to cancel out one of them Banes.
A quick question though, because I do have alertness. Like, would that count towards listening one of the Banes, or does alertness not kick in here because it's technically not being surprised? Or
yeah, because you're not really being surprised. You can see he's casting a spell.
okay, all right. So just one Bane then.
Straight roll then, because I gave you a boon.
Well, but we're getting 2 Banes, right?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought that one was canceled. All right.
I appreciate the help, but rolling a 1 on the die is not.
So, wait, are you using the same dice as me today?
It is blue, but mine's like clear. I'm firing this dice, and I'm getting another D20. That one's already rolled 2 1s. So
I actually think I might downgrade it and just roll a D12 from now on, because
These claws will come up, just grasping at this shadowless monster that you've created, Vasily, trying to hold it in place. And same with you, Victor. They'll grab a hold of your ankles. Some of them reach up a little bit further, grab a hold of your belts, or maybe some of your tunic that hangs down, just holding you down and begin to pull you down to the ground. Does this creature get caught in it too, Vasily?
Oh, I rolled an 8.
Okay. Sort of holding in place. He's like, we didn't have to make this hard. And he will stroll forward towards you, Victors. These things began to grab a hold of you, basically paralyzed for the moment. What's the actual? Let me see, because I'm not sure what the condition gives to you. Let me double check. Let's see, conditions. You'd be defenseless, so your defense is a 5 at the moment. And you automatically fail all challenge rolls or movement, and you can't move. But he will move forward, and you see him draw this serrated blade, Victor, in front of you, and sort of puts it up to your face and shaves a few whiskers off. Says, you realize I could gut you right here. A slow, painful death. Cut your cheek, your neck, right about here is where the jugular is. Let you bleed out.
How close is he to the edge of the bridge?
From you guys, he'd probably be about 20 feet or so, and he's like right at the foot of the bridge, so right there at the edge of it.
Well, I mean more the edge of the side.
Oh, he's right on the edge. He's on the corner side.
So I think this is because Mud was flanking around. Mud would like to charge him and tackle.
Tackle him?
Shoulder tackle, try to knock him off.
Yep, and if he sees me coming as he spins towards me, I'd kind of like to throw a little chill on him to give him a vein to make him move a little slower.
All right. You will make an attack with 1 Bane to try to shoulder him, basically, or shove him.
11 minus 1, 10.
10. Nice. So you will succeed as you run forward. He does not notice you right at the moment, as he is preoccupied telling Victor all the ways that he could kill him at the moment. So go ahead, do a normal attack on him, and see if you hit. And he, let's see, that shows him 5 feet. So yeah, you could shove him over if you hit him.
I want to shove him over, but I want to grab him as he goes over.
All right.
I don't want to let him drop. So am I just rolling a standard attack?
Yep, just standard attack. He does not notice, so do against a 14 as his defense at the moment.
Oh, 12.
Nice. Rush forward just as you slam into him. He'll sort of step back to catch his footing. You can see he turns, not really noticing you were running forward. This wide, very wide, unnatural sort of smile spreads across his face. He says, I get the point, I get the point. And he will take a step back and just go over the cliffside.
Yeah, he's
He
strong.
just rolled himself over?
Yep.
Can I still make a chance to grab him?
Well, you can give me a perception check.
13.
I don't know if I like that grin that Morgan had on his face just then when he said that. Like, that's
As you
so creepy there.
sort of reach forward and try to grab him, you can see that he goes over this cliffside. And as you sort of look over, it's where the bridge meets the chasm side or whatever, look over, it's just a flurry of crows that rush up through the air into the sky.
Yeah, I figured he was Strahd.
A murder of crows, per se.
So it is definitely crows, right? Not ravens?
Yes, crows.
Is his spell still holding me in the shadow?
It would last for about one more minute. They don't hurt you or anything. They just basically entangle you and hold you down.
Are they in the way of the wagon?
Specifically.
Do a 30-foot. Yeah, they probably catch a little bit of the wagon as well, but
So we can move the wagon across, and then we'll wait for him to.
just leave Victor out there.
Well, no, I'll stay behind with him, but I'm just saying we could get the wagon across just in case something happens to the bridge.
Yeah, his Marco start pulling the wagon across as you guys wait for this thing to get off of Victor. If you step anywhere close to it, whatever, they'll begin trying to grab a hold of you or well. Yeah, Vasily, you'd probably be familiar with the spell with your backgrounds or whatever, but it's just grasping hands. But it seems like it'd be a pretty powerful version of it.
Okay.
And Ismark will wait for all of you on the other side as this spell wears off. Again, you don't take any damage or anything, Victor. It was just holding you down, basically. And you can see Ismark on the other side, just waiting patiently for all of you to catch back up to him. Says, I really hate that guy.
Can we go fast now?
Can the horse, like, because we're down to one horse, can the horse, like, successfully pull the wagon? Like,
It can, but it's going to be a lot more work. So, Ismark will going to have to take our time. Otherwise, we will risk fatiguing the horse. So it'll blow its heart if we just make it to pull the whole way.
okay, if I helped again, like I did before, like, will that lessen the load to where we can maybe speed up a little bit more, or?
You're not really as strong as a horse.
No, but I mean, just like to help lessen the load off the horse. And maybe not like the whole way, like maybe like for 10 minutes and then let the horse pull for 10 and then like help it for 10. Like,
Yeah, you definitely give me a strength check.
And on top of that, I'm going to start throwing the unneeded crap out of the back of the wagon.
Well, there's a very large and heavy cask of Wizard of Wine's winery. It's very delicious, but it's full and probably weighs quite a bit.
Actually, that's gone, isn't it? Didn't I drag that into the Vasani camp?
Oh, you did? You did. So actually, that's really about, besides the coffin and a few tools and stuff, that's the only main heavy thing. So
Okay. All right, then.
Well, we had her arrow, but that's not very heavy.
that would be a 14 for me. Pretty sure.
yeah, you can help out here and there as you guys make your way, but it's definitely not as fast as what the two horses could have pulled everything. It's, even with Mud taking turns and the others maybe pushing things and helping out the best, it starts to get dark. It starts to get a bit later, and Ismark will glance around. You'll come to a crossroads about 3 hours or so. I'll put a picture of it over into the chat.
Crossroads never a good place to stop.
No, they are not.
Ismark, how far are we?
He'll look at these crossroads and he'll point over his shoulder. That there is Castle Ravenloft, the devil. That's his home. Says we are halfway between the Vistani camp and Valakai, so another 4, perhaps 5 hours at the most, and we should make it. But it will be night sooner than that. This is not good at all.
We have to risk keep pushing it in. If we have to run the rest of the way, then we have to run.
Is there any defensible spots along the way from here to there?
He shrugs. I do not much know. I have, not been past this point in my life. He says, I know that these crossroads mark the halfway point between Serfals and Valakai, but this is the farthest I've ever came. Says I do not know what lies beyond, besides these old Zavalich road and woods. Just we'll be heading into the thick of woods. We cannot rest there. We will be wolf dinner in no time. Says
Well, if we have to push the horse to death, then we have to push the horse to death. But we just have to keep going.
Now, if we have to stop, is it safer to stop here at the crossroads?
Outside is the devil's home. No. And nope, this graveyard, they say the dead awakens every night, and ghouls of the devil himself feast. Says I do not have no desire to be resting here. I agree with Vasily. We should at least push the horse as far as it can go, but I don't know. If the horse collapses, then I don't know what to do with Father's coffin.
So there is an actual graveyard right here at the crossroads, right?
Yes, there is.
You want to bury him there?
I
have tried to bury this guy so many times, and she has not allowed it each and every time.
She's unconscious. She doesn't have a say.
Okay, I'm help pulling the wagon. That's all I know. So whatever happens, like in the wagon, stays in the wagon. So
what happens in the wagon stays in the wagon.
I'm just glad I'm not the only one who went, hey, graveyard.
Yeah.
Half of our problem.
We could just drop him off over the fence. We just tell her that, hey, while you were unconscious, we came upon a graveyard.
Ismark is not as dead set as she was. He doesn't look thrilled, but he's not really. You can see that his relationship with the father probably wasn't great, so he's not overly.
Stopping to bury him here doesn't save us any time.
No.
I guess we should just move forward.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to ease the burden on the horse that much.
Not with the time we'll have to spend to burial.
Yeah. Well, I'm fine with just tossing him over the fence, but yeah, I think we should just keep moving.
As much as I would love to agree with you, I do promise.
I'm not a holy man, though. I'm not a cleric. A priest. There's nothing holy about me.
No, I agree. We should at least get down the road as much as possible. You can hear a small pitter-patter of rain as the clouds begin to form, and this it's not dark night wise, but it's just dreary from the clouds that are gathering overhead. The ground, this fog seems to pick up a little bit, has a whole ominous seem of show to it, and the rain will slowly begin picking up as he snaps the reins and has the horse pulling forward once again. The road here, though, is much nicer, much more upkept than it was back in Barovia and through Sayre Falls. Seems like perhaps as the devil takes care of it a bit better here. And the horse will make fairly decent time. Along either side of the road, as you guys pass down this road, is just tall pines, occasionally brush and undergrowth. You will see deer, rabbits, and other critters along the road that are dead, bloated. This stench of death hangs quite a bit. Vasily, you smell it first. There's a sweetness in the air. It seems you smell, sort of reminds you of back home, and of cherry pies, of strawberry rhubarb. Yes, you can definitely smell fruit pies, something baking. And up ahead, you can see a small clearing as the road begins to open up. And off to the side, off to the left, you can smell this, Vasily. There's an old, rickety-looking windmill. It's definitely where the smell seems to be coming from. You can see it looks decrepit, broken, but whatever's there definitely is cooking up quite a tasty pastry, it seems.
It's a gingerbread hag. I don't want to stop there.
There's a picture of it over in the Facebook chat, and yeah, as you all glance over at this thing, you can hear the screech of the windmill as it turns and grinds in the distance, and the smell of fresh baked pastries here covers up the normal stench of the roadkill and dead animals along the side. Ismark will shake his head and says, I've heard of the place. The old bone grinder. They say hags live there. It's best if we hurry.
How much longer till we get to our destination?
And it's probably been about an hour or so since you left the crossroads, so you still have about 2 to 3 hours.
I'm just going to make sure my crossbow's loaded.
I'm going to look back towards Mornak on this. He had mentioned windmills a few times already.
Yeah, you don't necessarily recognize this one as a view Mornak, but there is an extreme sort of sixth sense, or that's a pit in your stomach that place is not to be tampered with.
We shouldn't go anywhere near there. I get a very bad feeling about it.
Yes. There's a lady back in Barovia, this old crown. She would often come and hand out pies. The people, they addicted to them like opiates. It's not much like this.
The woman we seen when we were leaving.
He did not notice her, so perhaps.
I've seen a family bring their child out.
I've heard of that. They trade their children for the pies. I've heard a story of the hags. And he'll keep the horses moving right along past this place, but it seems to loom in the distance, this whole left-hand side of the carriage opening up to this field.
Mornak, how close do you need to be to set that thing on fire?
I'm sorry, what was that?
How close do you need to be to set it on fire?
I don't know that I actually have anything that would light it on fire.
Didn't you cast like a fire dart or something like that before?
I've got some darts, but they don't really... They do explode, but I don't know that they'd actually start a fire.
Yeah, it's raining pretty heavy at the moment, too, so...
Oh, GM had to ruin it. Okay. That was free XP, man. We just set it on fire and keep going. We earn the XP.
Or you have a bunch of hags chasing after us all the way.
A whole coven of hags.
Well, didn't Vasily always wanted women to chase after him?
No, not really.
Not these ones. As it sort of circles around, this road does. As it comes to the front side, you can see it. It's quite a bit back behind you, Mornak, but you can see that windmill motif that was emblazoned in a lot of Mother's books and the tapestries and stuff. And it's actually emblazoned on the front side of this windmill. So the images and stuff that you've seen aren't of this windmill, but this windmill has the motif and the scene and blazing of this character or this design that you've seen quite a bit on the front of it. And yeah, it gives you a rather unfortunate feeling, and Ismark will just sort of snap the reins and get his horse moving as fast as possible to get out of here. Everybody give me a perception check.
14.
18.
10.
18 the highest.
Yeah, I got a 7.
All right. So, Mud, you'll see it first. As you guys go for another hour or so, night will fully descend on the lot of you. Up above, this dark purplish haze forms in the clouds. There's no moon or stars again. The woods all around you gets darker and darker, and eventually it gets to the point when Ismark leans forward and pulls out this lantern underneath his bench and lights it, hanging it off the front of the carriage, and sort of opens up the flap a little bit so it beams a shed of light ahead. And maybe at this point, Mud, you're riding up there with him at the moment, and you look over and we got to be getting close now. And he'll pull the flap of the wagon up a little bit as it's pouring down quite heavily, and this thick fog is rolling across the ground, wrapping around the horse and almost up to the flanks on this horse, and drifting along the side of the wagon.
I'm going to climb up to the front with him.
Okay.
I'm going to sit there. I'm just going to be looking straight ahead because I have dark vision or dark sight, whatever they call it.
Okay, cool.
So I'm just going to be trying to spot ahead.
So as you pull up and maybe lean over the back side of the front bench, Vasily, and you're staring ahead and sort of watching, you'll see a figure in the distance, maybe 50, 40 yards, just standing in the middle of the road. Mornek and Victor, as you ride on the back of the wagon at the moment and sort of let your feet dangle off the back. Victor, you'll hear it first. There's a soft growl in the distance, and then a second. And you'll see two large dire wolves start walking up behind the backside of the carriage towards you. They stay about 20 yards out or so, sort of in the haze of the fog. They don't seem to be coming at you. They're just following you, much like they would be following prey. And up ahead, Vasily, and then Mud, you see the figure as well. Ismark does not notice it at the moment, as he doesn't have the eyesight either of you do. And he continues on a trot. But there's
I'll put my hand over and tell him to stop as soon as we see the figure.
If we stop, I'm gonna like bang on the back of the wagon and say, "No, don't stop. We have company back here. Keep going."
Ismark will look over his shoulder to Victor and over to you, and he says, "What should I do? What's ahead? I don't see anything." And he'll start peering. What do you see?
There's someone in the road.
Somebody. So what's following us, Victor?
Looks like wolves. We got wolves behind us.
You can see the horse sort of prances nervously, and he'll start moving ahead once again. Again, you can see this figure in the distance. It stands right in the middle of the road, unmoving. Sort of this black silhouette, human-sized. And as it starts to come into a little bit more view, Mud and Vasily, and then Ismark will see it too, just these two red pinpoints of eyes. Says, "I see it too. It's the devil." He'll stop the wagon. Behind as this wagon stops, Victor and Mornek, you'll see the dire wolves come up. So they're about 10 yards or so, sort of on either point of the wagon. And then they'll just sit back on their haunches, this snarl on their face. They look very mangy. Look sort of patchy. You can see heavy scars along their bodies and stuff. Both of them have this big white mane that runs down their backside.
Can I reach in and pull out like a piece of jerky or something like that and try to chuck it over the wolves' heads? And I'm mostly just trying to see if they will go for it, because they do look rough looking. So
they will watch it as it goes over, but no, they do not move. They just stare at both of you on the back of the wagon, almost as if following orders to not let you leave.
Okay.
Up ahead, Mud, Vasily, you'll see this figure start walking forward. You can see his eyes, more than anything, glowing red in this thick fog, and then his form start to walk into view.
I'll step down and move ahead of the horses.
Do you walk up to him, or do you wait for him to come to you?
I'll stand about 5 feet ahead of the horses and wait.
You mean horse? Put down the one.
The horse, yeah.
The one horse. Ismark will stay in his seat at the moment. You can see he's visibly shaking Vasily. I need a will challenge roll from Mud and Vasily, though, since you guys will see him.
10 dead on.
10 is good enough, Vasily.
Since I have a bane on any of these type of challenge rolls, that's a total of 0.
All right. Yes, you will hear it, Vasily. This guy there's something strange about him, but you just hear screams. Women, children, men, just echoing in the back of your skull. It doesn't come from outside or whatever. It's like invading your brain, just people screaming in agony. As this man comes into view, there's a picture over in the Facebook chat, and he'll stride up towards you, Mud. You can see he's a very, very pale-looking elf. This long black hair going down his back, braided on either side, and wearing very high-end nobility-like clothes. He'll stroll up and stand about 10 feet away from you, Mud. An orc. Scum. It looks like Ismark is traveling with worse companions than I thought. This is out of my way, beast.
I will not move. As a matter of fact, I'll probably snarl at him when he says, when he calls me scum.
You are more foolish than I thought. Very well, I could kill you here now, but I have other orders. Where is the girl?
Well, at least we know he's not Strahd. But I'm completely frozen, rigid, in the exact same pose that I was.
We lost the girl when we lost the horse.
Foolish. Do not lie. She's in the back of the wagon. And he will just begin to move right past you, Mud.
I'll step in front of him.
He'll stop. He says, if you know what's best, you will move. I am here to heal her. Strahd wishes her to live, not die bleeding out because of your carelessness. I will heal her wounds, and you can go run, play privy to Valakai, perhaps join their festivals.
I'll glance over to Ismark.
He is absolutely like stricken with fear, so he's not even moving at the moment. You can just see these tears rolling down his face, and he's shaking like crazy. He says, I have no qualms in killing you.
Was she stable or was she still in bad shape?
She's in really bad shape. Over the past hour or so, you would know she's getting more and more pale, and the blood isn't really... You've slowed it down a fair amount, but it's not stopping. So, if the girl dies, it is on your shoulders. Strahd will not be happy. Go have a seat, beast. Let me pass, or I will gut you here. And he'll put his hand on his sword, this long rapier that sits on the side. You can see that it glows with this deathly red sort of color to it.
I'll take one step backwards, but I'm not going to stop snarling at him, especially when he calls me a beast. It'll be the closest to a full orc rage that anybody's seen, as a spit's running down and freezing up into little icicles off my bottom lip as I snarl at this guy.
You let him pass by you, though?
I will.
As you step back, you'll see this wide, arrogant nobility sort of smile on his face as he moves past you. And a very strong smell of cinnamon as he passes by. Behind him, this cloak that flaps off of his back and hangs down. It sort of flails out a little bit. There's no wind or anything, but it still seems to wave out as if buffeted by a gust or something. You can see that it is all made of elven, looks like faces or leathers, but it's all made of elf skin. As he moves past you, around to the side of this wagon, he will see both Victor and Mornek. I need both of you to make will challenge rolls, please, as he comes into view.
I'm going to keep fairly close behind him, too. Maybe like 5 feet.
Awesome. I think I got a 19. Will challenge it. 19.
Cool.
Okay.
You're good?
Is this an attack on my intellect, will, or perception?
Will.
Okay, I'm going to use one of my psychic energy points to put 2 banes on the roll.
2 boons in that case. So, cause
Yeah.
Okay, so
Sorry.
yeah, go ahead and give me a will challenge with 2 boons then.
$15.
15, nice. So as he comes into view, both of you can hear like this howling on the wind and this unnatural evil that seems to surround this guy, but you're not stricken with fear like Vasily and Ismark up front. And he'll stop and look to both of you as he comes into view. Not of my way. I'm here to help the girl.
I'm gonna look to Bud.
Just a nod from me for now. I know she's getting worse, and I haven't been able to stop it. If he can heal her, I'll let it happen. If he tries anything else, so it's a very hesitant nod from Mud.
I finally am able to move a little bit, and the first thing I do when I turn around, I cast Hide from Undead on myself.
You can see the smirk sort of across his face as he glances past you, Victor, and Mornek to where Vasily was. Your friend don't like the dead. I don't blame him, neither do I. Out of my way now, or I'll kill you both.
Victor's gonna jump down from the wagon, but in doing so, he's gonna unsheath his bastard sword. But he's not like gonna stop him in any way. He's just in case if anything happens, like he's ready.
Ornak's going to go ahead and cast Share Thoughts so that the Sealy and him can stay in communication.
Okay.
While he's hiding. And then Ornak's going to go ahead and stand aside, but then raise his hand and have it just like a few feet away from this guy's head.
As both of you move, he'll takes a couple steps up into the back of the wagon and looks down at the girl. Says, if it was me, I'd kill her. I don't see what he has of interest in her. Says, looks like all the other bitches. But I have my orders. And he'll take both of his hands and sort of rip the scarf off and tear open the front of her blouse and places both of his hands on her chest. And you can see what looks like a thick black sort of blood start rolling down his shoulders, across his arms. It soaks through his clothing, this white silky clothing that he has on, and starts to spill across her chest. And it seems to crawl sort of like veins to across to where her wound is. and he begins to knit it up like stitches and starts to reform bits of the flesh. Takes a few moments. There's a nasty looking scar on her shoulder and on her collarbone, where he stands up and he sort of just smears this goop across her blouse and turns and steps down from the wagon and looks at all of you. You, beast, we will have a good fight we will have, I'm sure of it. I've killed many orc like you. In fact, he'll glance over at you, Mornak. There's elves too. Me and you. We're the only elves
I've got some reminders for Chrissy and Kevin.
And he will sort of reach back and billow this cloak around him. You'll see, Mornak, that this whole cloak is just made of elven skin, faces, hands that have been all tanned and leathered.
Before he steps away, Mudd will lean into him. Say, I look forward to eating your heart.
There's a perfect spot right about here for Mornak's face. His screams will echo with the rest of them. He'll look at you, Mornak, with a smile, and then over at you, Mudd. But I delay. Velikai is but a mere 40 minutes. My wolves will follow, but they won't hurt you. Do not worry.
Give me your cloak of elven faces.
If you can pull it from my body, you can have it.
Warnock's going to go ahead and take a tug.
Give me a strength challenge roll with 4 banes.
Okay, that's going to be a 13.
It doesn't really move from the shoulders. When you touch it, all you can hear is the screams of thousands of dead lives. And you'll get this brief vision that flashes through your head of this man. He looks basically the same, maybe a bit younger in elven years and stuff, but just slaughtering thousands of people over the years, gutting them, whatever the case is. And this whole room just scattered with tapestries, curtains, cloaks, clothing made of elven skin. And then you just see his smile as he looks at you. Perhaps you might be worthy too, but we don't have time for this. You sort of just reach up with an insane amount of strength and bend your wrist back a little bit and shove you forward. He says, but I don't have time for this right now. Be on your way. The people of Valakai are waiting for you. And he'll just start to walk away without a second look.
Mornak's going to use his shared thoughts with the Sealy to say, do you think you can follow him without him noticing you?
No.
And Vasily and Mornak, you both will hear the voice as well. He says, he does not need to follow me. But I thank you for including me in your little party. And he continues to just walk away.
I'd like to check on Irina. Is she stable?
If you step up into the back of the wagon, you can see that her wound has indeed been closed up. It has a nasty looking scar, but her flesh has returned to a bit more of a normal color, and her body seems to be warming up. She looks quite stable. She breathes regularly. Perhaps has a little bit of a fever, from the infection and whatnot, but it seems okay.
I'll wrap her brother across the back of the head. We need to get moving.
I'm gonna grab the thing that she had around her neck to hide the bite. The scarf. I'm gonna either, if Mudd has noticed it, I'm either gonna hand it to him or myself put it on her. and also try to fix up her blouse? Because you did say he tore it open, or did he just open it?
He tore it right open.
Okay, like see if I could fix that, like, proper, not doing anything shady there.
Ismark will nod and sort of starts moving the horses forward at the quickest pace that he can anyway, and get to moving. Behind, you can see this man just stop between these two wolves and sort of put his hands on both, stroking their back of their necks and heads as he watches. Mornek, a 1d6 minus 1 roll.
3.
3. As he pulls away and you sort of look in the distance at him, you can see these reddish eyes glowing. And again, you just get this vision of all these people slaughtering. You can see him gutting them, skinning, peeling the skin from their flesh, hanging it, drying it. And these visions just keep coming and keep coming. Take 3 points of corruption.
Oh,
Ouch.
I imagine a minute has gone by, and as soon as a minute goes by, I recast Hide from Undead.
As you remain invisible. What time we got? All right. We'll call it in just a moment. As all of you start to move down this road, that's the Old Svalich Road, it's called, and it meanders through this dark, wooded area once again in the distance, but you can see what looks to be a large palisade sort of fence up ahead, about a mile or so. Ismark will sort of tap you mud beside him, and that is, it's very kind. We must hurry. He'll sort of pick up the horse's trot a little bit, so almost to the point where it's almost running to get to there. And it looks this heavy, thick fog that rolls around it in the valley, presses up against these wooden palisades, almost like trying to break into this town or put through. The town itself, though, has a few lights on. You can see lanterns in the streets. And as you pull up on this road, it ends at a heavy iron gate that says the Morning Gate above it. Morning is spelled M-O-U-R-N, not as in other morning. And there's two figures standing behind it, all dressed up in like a military regalia, guardsmen. And they hold these huge pikes on either side of them. And all around you, scattered in this field that you've come to, are wooden spikes that have been implanted in the ground, maybe at least 100, if not more, all of them with impaled wolf's heads on top of them. And in the distance, as you peer through this gate at these two guards and beyond, you can see what look to be kids, maybe 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, running around, and they too all have makeshift wolf heads on top of their shoulders. Look like out of paper mache or craft materials and stuff, as they seem to be running around and chasing each other. And just two guards will step forward and sort of put their pikes in your direction. You can see they stare at you. And we will end it there for the evening.
are the dire wolves still behind us?
They would have followed for a little ways, but no, once only a few minutes passed, they disappear into the fog behind us. Same with the guy.
Good game, I have to say. Really cool.
All right, let me end this.